So right now, you feel like you are a practice player. You feel like you have the ability in practice. You're dominating, you're making plays, you're dangling players, you're scoring. But then when it comes to the game, you feel like you don't have the same performance. You feel like maybe you're even a different player when it comes to the game. And it's frustrating because you do all this work, you train so hard, and then it doesn't actually translate to you performing. And it's stressful. It's frustrating. And I know the feeling because you go to the rink and it feels like, well, I either live up to the expectation and I perform as well as my coach needs me to perform, or my teammates, or my parents, or even my own expectation. I either live up to that, which just feels like good enough. It doesn't feel like a win, really. It just feels like you just did enough. And then the other side of it is that you put all the stress of, well, what if I don't perform and I let everybody down and I don't live up to expectation? Well, it kind of feels like a trap, right? It feels like it's a no-win, and I get it, and it's really frustrating. So you probably feel something like that. And so if you feel something like that, what's probably happening is you're overthinking it. What's probably happening is that you're running into a major issue that is blocking your game, which is happening in the mind. And I've worked with hundreds of different players to solve this problem and a lot of similar problems, to break through mental blocks, to build confidence, and to reprogram their mind to be the type of player that they know they could be. And so I've worked with players in the AHL, in a bunch of different professional leagues across North America and Europe, a whole bunch of different junior A, junior B, all kinds of different levels of players, pretty much every junior league across North America. And players are all running into the same mistake when they're not able to translate their game from practice into games consistently. And so what we're going to talk about is, number one, why you care so much and why you care too much. We're going to talk about mental filters and how to reframe your brain. And then we're going to talk about acceptance and surrender and how those two things work. And so to start, you care too much. And I know it sounds frustrating because everybody says you need to work harder. All these motivational speeches, all these motivational talkers, they're all saying, you got to want it more. You got to outwork everybody. Your coach is trying to say you need to want it more. You need to put more pressure on yourself. But the problem is that putting more pressure on yourself, saying something's more important or matters more, you got to want it more, is not actually going to help you play better. All that's going to do is bring your ego into the game. It's going to make you nervous. It's going to make you worried. And it's going to lead you to not actually performing at your best. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever put motivation into your life, into your game, into your career. You, on one hand, do want to put pressure on yourself to go and do workouts, to do the preparation, to train harder. I like to tell players you should probably think about what would be the best version of yourself. How would they train? How hard would they work? What would they do? And think about, are you doing that? That's the first piece of advice I give everybody, is to really decide, is that your problem? Is that what you're running into? Because if you're not working hard enough in preparation, well, that's a whole problem in and of itself. But if you are training super hard and then you get to the game and you feel like, man, I just have so much pressure, I overthink, I stress, I worry, I doubt, well, the odds are that's because you haven't learned how to let go. You actually care too much about performing. And again, I know you don't want to believe me. You're like, no, I'm going to go listen to another David Goggins video. Go ahead, go do that. Some players are going to stay, listen to this. They're going to take this advice. They're actually going to apply it. And then they're going to see themselves get into flow state more consistently, trust their game more consistently. They're going to play just better. And so that's my advice, is stop trying to overthink it. You have to learn to let go. The next piece is mental filters and reframing your brain. And so this is a game changer when you really understand this. You want to realize that if you want to become a game player, you need to reframe or change the filter that you have on the game. So you want to see the game as an opportunity. You want to see the game as something exciting and fun, not scary and nerve-wracking. And so my recommendation is start to think about what would be the thing you go into for hockey that you don't feel pressure and that you actually feel excited and you're ready and you want to go do it. So maybe it's pond hockey, pickup hockey, maybe practice, whatever it is. I want you to reframe the game as that and realize that fundamentally that's all that actually matters, is how you decide to frame it. So this weekend, when you go into your games, think about, what if this game was just a pond hockey game? What if it was just fun and exciting and I got to go play with my friends? And the truth is, what's the difference? Because if you go out there, put a ton of pressure on yourself, you don't perform, well, then you're not going to get the opportunities. You go out there and you let go and play pond hockey and you don't perform, worst case, then you're in the same spot. But if you go out and you let yourself just play freely and pretend you're on the pond and you trust your game, you still play intense, you still play competitively, You still try everything you can to win, but you let go of all the extra ego involved, right? The voice in your head is not overthinking it. It's not trying to cause more problems for you. You just trust yourself and do your thing. Well, then look at the upside. So that's why I highly, highly recommend reframe the situation as something that is positive. Reframe it as something that you could succeed in and something that you look forward to. And all you have to do is just simply ask yourself, what would I need to think about this game to make it fun? And then just embrace that. Visualize the game being like that. Feel it. Practice the repetition of how you would think, feel, and act in a game like that. And slowly your brain is being rewired subconsciously to actually treat it that way. So when you get to the game, you'll naturally feel that way more and more often. It's not an instantaneous fix, but it's a skill you can work on. And we work on this and teach you how to do this at a much deeper level in all of our identity shift programs. So you can check out the links below if you want to look at those. Now, the final piece that I want to talk about is something called acceptance and surrender. So these are two core principles, very similar. They solve essentially the same problem, but I like to think of them as two really base skills of the mental game. So you have acceptance. So acceptance is something I learned from the author Eckhart Tolle. He's the author of these two books. These are two of my favorite books of all time, Power of Now and A New Earth. I highly, highly recommend you read these books. What he talks about in these books so often is this idea of acceptance. And he also talks about surrender. But with acceptance, the point is that whatever's happening in this moment, you can choose to accept it or you can choose to resist it. And resisting it is sometimes a good thing. If somebody is punching you in the face, maybe you want to protect yourself or punch back. But if you're, for example, flowing down a river and it's taking you down and you say, oh, well, I need to swim against it, swim against the current, well, that's not going to help you. So instead, you want to accept what's happening and then flow with what's happening. And you can slowly work with the flow. That's what acceptance is. It's accepting the past. It's accepting what's happened. It's embracing it and being okay with it. When you learn to accept what's happened, then what you can do is really step into, okay, I accept what happened. I accept what is in this moment, whatever's happened. If I got scored on, I made a mistake, I scored a goal, whatever's happened, you accept it. And then you want to surrender to the moment. You want to let go of any attachment you might have to, it needs to be a certain way, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. When you start to let go and surrender, and you start to first accept and then surrender to what is, and then what will happen. So you let go of the need to control everything. Your ego says, I get it, I can't control everything. Then what naturally happens is the weight gets lifted off. You feel this tension go away. And this idea of playing tension-free, this idea of playing relaxed, this idea of playing your game and just playing trust and flowy, that ability to do that really fundamentally comes down to the skill of acceptance, surrender. Oftentimes people just don't call it that because it sounds kind of corny and woo-woo spiritual, but that's the truth. That's what you're doing. You're accepting what is. You're accepting what's happened. And so that's my recommendation for you is if you find yourself getting stuck, you find yourself not playing well in games, you're getting held back in some way, well then I encourage you to ask yourself, do I care too much? Am I too worried about the outcome? And then I want you to then look at it from the perspective of, can I reframe the situation? Can I see it in a different way? And if you can see it in a different way and you can reframe it and start to think, feel, and act differently about it, then naturally you will be able to accept, you'll be able to surrender to it. And when you apply those skills together, you unlock a whole nother level of your mental game. If you like this one, let me know. If you prefer these shorter videos, I can definitely make them a lot shorter. If you like the shorter podcasts, comment below. Just tell me because I'll just do whatever you guys want. I want to actually make this stuff work and not just making it so I can hear my own voice, but I'm making it to help you. And I know I would have liked to have probably longer videos where I could sit and listen to them on the bus ride in different places. But if you prefer the shorter style, happy to do it. If you'd rather have me interview people and talk to other people too, I'll be happy to do it. Tell me. Let me know. And other thing is I want to know if you like the long flow. I'm starting to grow it out if you can see it. If you're watching the YouTube video, let me know if you think I should keep growing it out and go with the hockey hair. And I'm going to be going to the Eagles game tomorrow, so really excited about that. I always love watching live games just of all sports, but just appreciating being in these big high pressure moments, getting to see them and seeing how people respond to them is just a lot of fun as somebody who's mental coach and somebody who's about helping players perform better. So excited, be reporting back anything I might notice there. If you guys have questions, drop them below. I'll do kind of an AMA, Ask Me Anything type episode at some point if I get enough questions. But I'll continue to do that. All of these episodes are really based on questions. Either players ask me in the comments, in the DMs, clients that I'm working with, or players in any of the group programs or anything like that. So that's where this stuff comes from, is to help you. So hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you soon.